Dear Charlie, it seems both strange and perfectly natural to call you that. Although when I last saw you, I was nearly half the age I am now, and you weren't a preeminent medical expert. Thank you for your note after Johnny's death. Accidental death can cover a multitude of sins, but I know it was suicide. As a doctor yourself, you know psychiatrists like Johnny have an extremely high rate of it. But I think, and this gets me to the material I'm enclosing with this letter, I think Johnny's suicide was prompted by a particular patient. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm enclosing what I found in Johnny's personal effects. This box. The handwriting, burn this, is Johnny's, and, well, I didn't listen. Like Pandora, my curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. I wish I hadn't. Inside the box is my brother's account of the patient he was treating. His notes, which are increasingly fragmented, refer to the patient as N.
Case notes, June 1, 2007, patient N, 48, partner in a large Portland accounting firm, divorced, father of 2 daughters.
Insomnia, OCD, you've heard it all 100 times before, but it's the underlying cause of those problems I came here to deal with. The reason I can't sleep, the reason for the compulsions. The reason is what happened in August of last year. What's wrong with me could be very dangerous to me, possibly to others. I'm at condition orange here, Dr. Bonsaint, edging into condition red.
Do you count things?
Of course I do. The number of clues in the New York Times crossword puzzle, my own footsteps, number of rings when I call someone, other people's footsteps, their shoes, black shoes on the way to lunch, brown on the way back. 30's a good number. 15 pair, most days not a problem. 30 is purty, my little rhyme. 15 is keen.
At first, I thought my brother may have been planning a book, something popular in the style of Oliver Sacks. A book about N specifically, and about OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, in general. The thing is, the manuscript for the book, which I'm sending along with this letter, seems alive, and not in a good way. I know the places that are mentioned. You will too. For example, the field N speaks of must have been close to where we went to school as children. This field, Ackerman's Field, it's also close. A little too close for comfort, perhaps, to the bridge where Johnny committed suicide.
Case notes continue. Patient N.
When I load the dishwasher, I count plates. If there's an even number above 10 in there, all is well.
And if not?
I add the correct number of clean ones to make it right.
Right. Because anything else would disturb the order of the world.
The order of the world is already disturbed. I disturbed it last summer. I disturbed it 10 months ago when I went to Ackerman's Field. Only I didn't understand then. Not then. I can't fix it, but I might be able to do that. I have been doing it.
By counting things?
Yes, but also by touching them.
And placing?
I knew you understood.
And these symptoms?
They come in clusters. There are 3 of these clusters. They poke out of me, the same part of me, like rocks. Like the rocks in that field. There, that makes it safe. It preserves the world. For now. Reality is a mystery, Dr. Bonsaint, and the everyday texture of things is the cloth we draw over it to mask its brightness and darkness. But there are places where the cloth gets ragged and reality is thin. Ackerman's Field is one of those places. Because when you walk up to the stones as I did, and you look at them, you can see the faces. Not human faces either, the faces of beasts and monsters. Or it could just be a trick of the light. I snapped some pictures, 5, a bad number, but I didn't know that yet. I stood back wanting to get all 7 stones in one picture, but when I framed the shot, I saw that there were really 8. 7 by the naked eye, 8 through the lens. I went from stone to stone, touching each one, counting each one. I had to. I knew that the way I know I have to keep breathing if I want to stay alive. This might all still be in my head, but if it's not, if what I saw and sensed in Ackerman's Field is real, then I'm carrying a kind of infection, which I could pass on to you. I touch the stones. I'd touched them, and they were fixed. 7 when I looked, 8 through the camera. It didn't matter. After touching them, they were fixed. I felt relieved. But I still felt afraid. There was something wrong. Everything screamed it, even the silence of the birds. So I ran. I was most of the way back to my car. I might even have been touching the door handle when something turned me around again. And that was when I saw there was something in the middle of the stones. It was turning very slowly, but it never took its eyes off me. And it saw me. It saw me looking. And it grinned. And where there was one, there would be more. 8 stones would keep them captive, but if there were only 7, they'd come flooding from the darkness on the other side and overwhelm the world.
Case notes continue. Patient N, obsessive-compulsive disorder.
The stones are a gate, I think. A gate between realities.
Possible schizophrenic tendencies. Maintain observation for code 295.3 symptoms.
But there's a gate in our heads, too. One that keeps the insanity in all of us from flooding our intellects.
Is that what you think happened to you at the field? That some kind of barrier in your mind had been breached?
No. Yes. I'm not sure. I felt distorted, dislocated. That I'd seen that in the stones there was a face. And I felt infected. Dangerous, as if I could summon the thing just by thinking about it too much. And it wouldn't be alone. That whole other cosmos would come spilling through like vomit through the bottom of a wet paper bag. I went around and locked all the doors. I was sure I'd forgotten a couple, so I counted. Front door, back door, pantry door, bulkhead door, garage overhead door, back garage door. 6 doors. 6 is a good number.
How do you know?
I just knew. It's warm, not cold. Like 5 or, 7. 6 is a fix, I remember saying. I couldn't sleep, so I counted all the books in my bedroom bookcase. 93. That's a bad number. Divide 93 by 3, you get 31, 13 backwards. So I added another book, 94. But that wasn't enough, so I got 6 more and crammed them in. 100, a good number.
6 is a fix.
Exactly, you get it.
And were you placing things, too?
It started with just touching, but yes. Always even numbers of things, usually in a circle or on a diagonal. Circles and diagonals keep things out. Counting, touching, placing those things. It's a lot of work. A lot of responsibility.
Case notes continue. Patient N. Today, N related how he got the photos he took at Ackerman's field back from the developer. He said that none of the photographs came out. So he rented a digital camera and went back to the field. Classic rationalization behavior. N wanted to return to the field and was looking for any excuse. But this time, the field was obstructed. Patient's compulsion to return to the field was so strong he was willing to risk arrest and prosecution. Classic OCD. Patient is convinced he saw something in the center of the stones. Quoting, "There was a faded place," unquote. Patient claims he felt that it seemed as if he could, quoting again, "punch out with one fist and tear right through the fabric of reality," unquote. At which point Patient's delusions returned. Patient claims he heard something. He claims he heard that the stones spoke his name. So you heard your name?
You make it sound like it was a trick of the wind? It wasn't. I heard my name because it was spoken.
By the stones?
No, not by the stones. By it. Whatever it was, whatever that grotesque, unnameable thing was, it knew my name.
Did you take pictures this time? With the digital?
I tried. The stones just fry the camera, but when I looked through the lens again, just like what happened before, through the lens, 7 stones become 8. You see, human eyes take away the 8th stone. A camera lens will put it back, but won't lock it in place. And without that 8th stone, without that final protection, 8 keeps it straight. Without it, it'll get through.
What will?
It.
I'm not sure I understand. There need to be 8 stones to keep the monster away, but there are only 7.
There are 7 by the naked eye, but lenses can see the 8th stone. I'm pretty sure a person could see it in a mirror, too, maybe even through a pane of glass.
But there's no means of recording it, of making some kind of record of the 8th stone.
Is that a polite way of saying I'm crazy?
No, I'm just trying to get a clear picture, no pun intended.
I get it, you want proof, right? Like you said, some kind of record, so did I. That's why I took the camera in the first place, But
you couldn't take a picture, any pictures, of this 8th stone. Do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yes, I do. I read about this sort of thing, trying to get the patient to confront his delusions. I get it, but here's the thing. In December, after my OCD started to subside and I was actually sleeping through the night for the most part, something came in the mail for me. Something real. Something that proved it wasn't all in my head. The letter was marked personal, no return address. There was something inside. I could feel it through the envelope.
AF. And what did you think the AF stood for?
Come on, Doc. What do you think? Ackerman's Field, right?
Or a person's initials, or...
I knew what it was and what it meant. If there'd been a letter, it would have said, I tried to keep you out. It's not my fault and maybe not yours, but either way, this key and all it opens is yours now.
That's very specific.
That's what it would have said.
You sound pretty certain of that.
I am. Just like I'm certain that field is now my field. Those stones are now my stones. And whatever it is they're keeping is my responsibility. Just like I understood that I had activated the place just by looking at it. By looking, I took away the 8th stone. I could put it back with a lens, but only for a while. I had to keep renewing the protection with symbolic acts. Things were better last winter. The OCD got better, but then in April, things started getting bad again. I was counting more, touching more, and placing just about everything that wasn't nailed down in circles or diagonals. I started having nightmares again. The same dream. A dark, unspeakable dream. I could see it clear as day, as gray-black as twilight. And even though it was a dream, hope, it was a dream, just a dream. I knew it had escaped from the standing stones in Ackerman's Field. And I knew that it was my fault because I'd failed in my responsibilities.
So this creature, the one that you let escape...
Good thought.
Excuse me?
It's what the creature was saying in the dream.
The creature can speak.
The creature speaks without talking, just like the stones did. Just like the stones did when they spoke to me.
What did the stones say?
Hand me your pad, Doc. I'll write it. If what I'm telling you is true and not just in my screwed-up head, it's not safe to say the name aloud.
Case notes continue. Patient N. By his own account, N's OCD improved with the arrival of the winter months. Related to SAD, seasonal affective disorder, somehow. Explore further. Possible paper there. However, although the OCD was apparently getting under control, patient experienced vivid nightmares, culminating in a relapse, to wit, a return to Ackerman's Field. Transcript of patient's account follows.
The hay was growing up in the field again, and most of the sumac bushes were turning green, but I saw a scary thing. The darkness was back, inside the stones, but I saw no eyes this time. I wasn't too late, thank God. There was just the darkness turning and turning, seeming to exult in the fragility of our world, and I knew what I had to do. The sound of the hay brushing against the cuff of my pants was like a voice, and it was warning me to keep away. Forcing myself to go down to that ring of stones was the hardest thing I've ever done. The voice growing louder in my ears. The warning, keep away, getting more urgent. The air began to taste diseased. My skin began to thrum. But somehow I got there. And when I did, I knew what I had to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, don't come to my world anymore. 5, 6, 7, 8, because 8 keeps things straight. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Just the evens, because evens are safe. Good numbers, safe. That turning darkness began to recede with each pair, and by the time I got to 8, it was gone. And I understood. I understood why things had gotten better for a while. It's the solstice. You see the same patterns repeated all over the world. They're calendars. But not just for days and months, for times of greater and lesser danger. The darkness gathers and recedes, like the tide. The summer solstice is the point of highest danger, the winter, the lowest. I didn't get better in the winter. The darkness just went away. And whether it's real or all just a delusion, the work is just as hard. The responsibility. You can't imagine the responsibility for the entire world, Doc. The weight of it, literally on my shoulders.
It just feels that way. The work we have to do now is...
At least I'll get a break come winter, if I make it that far.
What do you mean?
And you know what I think? I think we finished, you and I.
Actually, I think we still have a great deal of work left to do.
No, we're done. This concludes today's program, as they used to say on the radio.
This is very common. After a breakthrough, it's normal for patients to want to...
Thanks, Doc. Look, don't worry. You may see me again, or at least hear from me.
I can help you. It just takes some time.
Thank you, Doc, for everything, for listening. By the way, those, I wouldn't move them if I were you.
Now, I know what you're thinking, Charlie, and no, I don't think, not for a second, that Johnny committed suicide just because one of his patients did. But you knew there'd be a but, didn't you? I just wonder if the two deaths aren't connected somehow. Because, well, read the manuscript Johnny had started. I think you'll see what I'm talking about here. He went to N's funeral, for one thing. You're a doctor. You tell me, is that normal? I mean, for a psychiatrist to go to the funeral of a patient, particularly one who committed suicide? I don't know. It feels wrong somehow. A little too intimate, you know? And then there's this project, this manuscript, this decision to go forward with it, to write it. Okay, I know this is going to sound silly or crazy or both, but, well, if you can't confess a secret to a dear old friend, who can you confess to? I'm afraid that Johnny's decision to start the manuscript, to spend even one more second in N's head, I'm afraid that that's what contributed to Johnny's suicide. Can a research project lead to depression, to suicide? Probably not. Like I said, I know it sounds crazy or silly or both.
Backtrailing a patient's mental illness to its source is never comfortable. But once I was there, at the literal ground zero of N's delusion, I was struck by the quiet power of the place. What caught my attention was the little cluster of sumac bushes, the same ones N described. They weren't dead, but the leaves were black, and they had no shape. They were ill-formed things, somehow hard to look at. They offended the order the eye expected. As fundamentally disturbing as that was, what I spotted next was even worse. It was 10 yards away and hidden by the bushes, but I knew instantly what it was, and that I'd made the wrong choice in coming here. There was something in the envelope. Of course there was. Why else go to the trouble of putting it in a baggie to keep it dry? Why go to the trouble of leaving the envelope at all? And I knew it for what it was, even before I tore open the envelope and dumped it into my hand. Sorry, Doc. 2 words, 3 counting N's name. Not a good number. I looked around. I don't know why. That's not true. I know why. I'd felt someone behind me.
Kathan.
And I decided that it was time to leave. That's enough. If something has mutated the trees, some environmental condition that's poisoned the ground, so be it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that there are 8 stones. There are 8. You have tested the world and found it as you hoped it would be. As it always was. Go back. Go back to your life. Go back while you still can.
Go back while you still can.
I felt an urge, a strong urge, one I'm ashamed to admit. Almost as much as I'm ashamed to admit I gave into it. I looked, and there were only 7 stones. Not 8 stones, 7. I counted them twice to make sure, and it did seem darker inside the stones, as if a cloud had passed over the sun. But it didn't look like a shadow. It looked like a particular darkness, as if it contained the 8th stone I saw when I'd arrived. I'd put the key and the envelope in my pocket, but I was still holding the baggie. Without really thinking about what I was doing, I raised it to my eyes, and 8 stones. Thank God. I lowered the baggie and looked at the stones dead on. Still 8. Solid as the foundation of the Taj Mahal. 8. I walked back to my car, successfully fighting the compulsion to take one more look. Why look again? 8 is 8. Let's get that straight. A little rhyme, just like N liked to do. But just because I had a moment of being like a child frightened by a ghost story doesn't mean I've contracted N's affliction. I'm a psychiatrist, a PhD, and trained medical professional, and I'm here to tell you that mental illness can only be contracted genetically, if at all.
I'm carrying a kind of infection, which I could pass on to you.
I have decided against the article. Best to put the whole business of N behind me. I've thrown the key away. No, the article remains abandoned. However, I see no reason to discontinue writing down my thoughts and observations as a kind of journal. Fished the key out of the trash this morning. It's just a key. All right, yes, I admit it. I have been counting a few things and making sure there are even numbers around me. Paper clips, pencils in the jar. Doing this is strangely soothing. I have caught N's cold for sure. Something is wrong out there. The 8th stone is weakening. Counting helps, but does not fix the basic problem. This must end. I'm going out there. I'm going back. I went back. I went back and I saw it. The darkness. It was almost complete. I cannot live my life this way. I don't accept this. I don't. I let N's obsession get a finger in my psyche. And it has continued to widen the gap, slipping in a second finger, a third. But I saw with my own eyes. I saw the 3-lobed eye and spoke of it belonged to nothing from this world. There is a world behind this world, filled with monsters. I think a Neurontin script might help. Anti-seizure medication, strictly speaking, but in cases like mine, it's been known to help. Valium helps more than Neurontin, I think, as long as I don't overdo it. Cymbalta, that's the trick. Valium and Neurontin have 6 and 10 letters each, which is good, but Cymbalta has 8. And 8 keeps it straight, just like N said. 6 is a fix, but 8 keeps it straight. Back from Motown, covered with sweat, shaking, but 8 again. I fixed it. It was trying to eat its way through, but I was just in time. It was on the verge of getting out. The protections only hold so long. One thing, if I kill myself, the torment ends. I cannot live this way.
The darkness gathers and recedes, The summer solstice is the point of highest danger. The winter, the lowest. I didn't get better in the winter. The darkness just went away.
Better lately. My ideas seem more my own. Today the field was silent, the hay dead, the trees at the foot of the slope bare, the world waiting for snow.
You're back. That's good. I was worried about you.
I had a sort of crisis this summer and fall, a crisis of spirit, but I'm better now. And I believe these notes, this diary, can end. It's April Fool's, and the fool is me. I woke from a dream about Ackerman's Field. It's starting again. It was Charlie who thought it up, calling the Bale Road Bridge the Fail Road Bridge, because anyone who fell off it couldn't fail to kill themselves. Charlie was always so clever. The Androscoggin will be red tonight, a long snake bleeding in its birth canal. Nick's picks and mutton sticks. Those stones don't photograph, and was right about that much anyway. Each deeper than the last. This is the design all the earth proclaims. 8 is fate and keeps the world straight. Good deal for the world. Not such a good deal for Dr. Bunsaint. Charlie was always so clever.
Dear Charlie, I haven't heard from you about Johnny's manuscript, and that's good. Please ignore my last letter, and if you still have the pages, burn them. I told myself I was only going out as far as the Bale Road Bridge. I told myself it might bring closure, but that was a lie. Because why else would I take the key? I found it in his study, next to another key, to balance it, as he would have said. I'm glad I didn't send you the key. You might have been tempted to go out there. Don't worry about me, though. I'm fine. And even if I'm not, Sheila LeClaire has 1 husband and 1 child. Charlie Keene has 1 wife and 3 children. You have more to lose. Under no circumstance come back here. There's nothing out there, just some rocks. I saw with my own eyes. I swear there's nothing out there. So stay away.
The caller you are trying to reach is unavailable. Please leave a message.
Hey, it's Charlie. I just wanted to let you know I'm going out of town for a few days. Going back home to Maine, a little town called Moughton. I'm attaching a map. The reason is I think there's a story here, this double suicide, brother and sister. Here are some photos. Maybe it could turn into a piece on obsessive-compulsive disorder. Maybe an angle on how OCD can actually be passed via transference from family member to family member, or even person to person. I'll tell you, the idea of that kind of scares the crap out of me. But that's what makes it a story, right? Look, I'm about to get on the plane. The place I'm looking for, Ackerman's Field, isn't on any map, but I have a pretty good idea where I think it is. Maybe I'll email you some pictures when I get there.